0800 hours. The sky above Hormuz split open with the sound of general quarters sirens as the United States Superfleet shifted into its highest state of operational readiness. What unfolded next went far beyond every intelligence forecast. The destroyer USS Delbert D. Black had its Spy-6 fire control radar fixed on the command center of Iran's $1.5 billion carrier-style vessel, the Shahed Bagheri. Below the surface, 20 IRGC fast attack craft opened their torpedo tubes, shaping a dangerous pincer maneuver around one of the world's most important energy corridors. Overhead, F/A-18 jets from the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln thundered across the sky, their laser-guided systems tracking every Shahed drone launcher. One wrong move, one rush decision, and a regional standoff could spiral into a crisis capable of shaking the entire global economy. Tehran believed it had trapped the American giant. But just as the moment of decision approached, something unexpected appeared on the radar screens, leaving every commander in the room stunned. What was really moving beneath the shadows of the ocean? The strategic standoff in the Strait of Hormuz had become a high-pressure test ground for 21st century asymmetric strategy. To understand why Tehran would risk so much on one mission, you have to look at the strange logic behind its maritime plan. Without the industrial base to build a traditional aircraft carrier, the IRGC reshaped a massive 250-meter commercial container hull, adding an angled flight deck and mounting rows of one-way drone launch rails and Zulfikar missile racks. The result was the Shahed Bagheri. On paper, it looked like a slow-moving target, but inside the narrow waters of the strait, it served a different purpose. It was a floating fortress, a high-value decoy designed to pressure the world's most critical energy route and force the United States Navy into a costly reaction. At 8:42 in the morning, the standoff turned into something far stranger. As the USS Delbert D. Black held a steady 18 knots, the Shahed Bagheri began flooding the airwaves with powerful electronic noise. At the same time, 20 IRGC fast attack craft spread out in a crescent formation, attempting to push the American destroyer closer to Iran's rugged coastline. The crew of the Black stayed in complete emissions silence. Then, as the Spy-6 radar peeled apart the Bagheri's signal profile, the ship's digital battle system identified a disturbing inconsistency. The signals coming from the Iranian vessel were not being generated by active drone control stations. They were coming from high-powered simulation units mounted across the deck. The Shahed Bagheri was an electronic illusion, a multi-billion-dollar shell built to tempt the American Aegis system into draining its missile inventory against a target that was never the real threat. The decisive move was hidden beneath the waves. While the world watched the surface carrier, Tehran had placed a swarm of Ghadir-class mini-submarines and autonomous underwater vehicles beneath the routes of passing civilian oil tankers. These underwater systems used the enormous engine noise of merchant ships as both physical and acoustic cover, receiving short, low-frequency command bursts from controllers concealed along the coastal cliffs. The deep-water machines crept across the seabed less than 2,000 yards from the Black's propellers. How does the United States Navy solve a needle-in-a-haystack problem when a 300,000-ton oil tanker is being used as moving cover? Act too fast, and the result could be an environmental disaster. 8:50 in the morning. The Hormuz chessboard had reached a dangerous imbalance. While the decoy vessel Shahed Bagheri continued to draw attention on the surface, Iranian Ghadir-class mini-submarines and unmanned underwater vehicles had silently moved to within less than 2,000 yards of the USS Delbert D. Black. They were using a highly calculated tactic, hiding beneath the civilian supertanker Majestic Sapphire, a 300,000-ton giant whose massive engine noise covered their own acoustic signature. Searching for a mini-submarine beneath the shadow of an oil tanker is like trying to hear a mosquito in the middle of a roaring rock concert. If the United States made the wrong move against the tanker, the result could become an environmental and economic disaster with global consequences. This was the moment when Iran attempted to turn civilian traffic into cover for its decisive move. But the United States Navy had already begun its response. From the deck of the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, two MH-60R Seahawk anti-submarine helicopters lifted into the mist. Like sea wolves cutting through the fog, they deployed a dense network of SSQ-53G passive sonar buoys around the tanker formation. 9:05 in the morning. The United States began its underwater acoustic operation. Instead of relying on standard detection methods, the Seahawk processing system used a fusion algorithm to peel away thousands of layers of tanker noise, isolating the distinct low-frequency rhythm of the Ghadir-class propellers. They did not need to see the threat. They were mapping the entire seabed through supercomputer-level hearing. Realizing that its acoustic trap was being exposed, the Shahed Bagheri changed tactics. It suddenly activated its fire control radar and locked onto the Seahawk helicopters, attempting to pressure them into retreating. But the USS Delbert D. Black had a colder answer ready. Instead of launching an immediate kinetic response, the Flight 3 destroyer used acoustic signature masking to hide its true sound profile. By adjusting the water flow around its propellers and activating simulated acoustic devices, the Black created an acoustic ghost designed to confuse Iranian underwater sensors. To the enemy, it appeared as though the American ship had changed course and moved several miles away. Iran believed it was closing in, but in reality, it was following a digital illusion created by the United States Navy. While the opposing force was still chasing the ghost, the USS Delbert D. Black quietly transmitted the real target coordinates to a Virginia-class submarine operating deep below the surface. The hunter had become the hunted without even realizing it. Do you believe in the power of the United States Navy? If so, comment 1 below. 9:15 in the morning. Inside the command center of the Shahed Bagheri, Iran's mobile fortress, the atmosphere shifted from confidence to total digital confusion. Tehran's commanders stared at their mission screens, expecting to see the final flight path of their massive Shahed drone swarm as it moved toward its objective. Instead, the displays filled with flickering icons and integrity failure warnings. This was not ordinary signal interference. It was something far more precise. It was not a simple disruption. It was a surgical collapse of logic, carried out by the unseen hand of America's global shield. High above the strait, 2 EA-18G Growlers from the USS Abraham Lincoln had already formed a high-gain digital link with the USS Delbert D. Black's SEU Block 3 system. Together, they were not merely filling the airwaves with noise, they were dissecting the swarm's control links in real time. Using machine-assisted signal processing, the United States Navy identified the exact timing intervals and data checksums that kept hundreds of drones moving together as one coordinated system. The American electronic warfare specialists did not need to take over every aircraft. They only needed to corrupt 15% of the data packets. For the IRGC, the result was immediate chaos. As the altered packets reached the drone's mission computers, the swarm began to lose synchronization. Hundreds of millions of dollars in autonomous hardware drifted off course, misread their flight paths, and began interfering with one another in the sky. To the Iranian operators, it looked as if a digital ghost had entered their network. At the same time, the United States fleet activated an advanced radio frequency fingerprinting protocol. Every urgent command burst sent from the Iranian mothership in an attempt to regain control was intercepted, analyzed, and used to locate the hidden emitters and underground command points buried deep inside the coastal limestone of Keshem Island. Without realizing it, the hunters had handed the American Aegis system a high-definition map of their most sensitive command and control network. But the true masterstroke was psychological. The United States Navy had not actually taken control of the drones. It only shaped the Iranian sensors to make it appear that way. When the Iranian commanders saw their drones beginning to circle back toward their own formation, their foreign-trained security protocols triggered instant alarm. They believed the Americans had broken into the encryption system and were preparing to turn the Dragon Swarm back against the Shahed Bagheri itself. Facing what looked like a total systems failure and fearing that their own platforms could become a threat to their fleet, Tehran's leadership made a desperate decision. At 9:20 in the morning, convinced that a complete American takeover was underway, Tehran's Central Command issued the emergency termination order. In a single heartbeat, thousands of Shahed drones, once presented as the pride of Iran's asymmetric arsenal, triggered their internal disablement systems and dropped into the rough waters of the Gulf like burning titanium rain. The Dragon Swarm vanished not by American firepower, but by the command of the very men who had launched it. And for the IRGC, the humiliation was only beginning. 9:30 in the morning. The loss of the drone swarm pushed Tehran into a state of strategic desperation. For the commanders of the IRGC, the collapse of a billion-dollar asset demanded an immediate and visible escalation to protect their regional image. So they revealed their final card, the missile cities. Deep inside the jagged limestone cliffs of Keshem Island, the heavy blast doors of underground bunkers began to open. Fire control radars for NOR anti-ship cruise missiles came to life, sending concentrated pulses of electromagnetic energy toward the hull of the USS Delbert D. Black. This was a high-stakes standoff in the narrowest part of the strait. The NOR missile was built for sea-skimming flight, moving just meters above the waves in an attempt to reduce radar exposure. With a range of 120 kilometers, a large coordinated launch could shake global energy markets and push the entire region toward open confrontation in moments. One press of a button would send a wave of steel across the water and test the American Aegis shield to its absolute limit. But the United States Navy remained ice cold. In a display of silent pressure, the Delbert D. Black kept moving at a steady 18 knots. It did not rush toward open water. It did not even change course. The American destroyer deliberately held its signature in the open, sending a clear message toward the Iranian cliffs. We know where you are, and we are not intimidated by your steel. This is the reality of modern naval dominance. The side with the superior network does not need to flinch. While Iranian operators watched their launch consoles with rising tension, the American Overwatch made its move. From the USS Abraham Lincoln, positioned beyond the horizon, EA-18G Growlers released a wave of MALD flying decoys. These were digital phantoms, able to imitate the radar image of a Super Hornet or even a heavy bomber. Within moments, Iranian radar screens filled with 50 fast-moving targets approaching the coast from multiple directions. Tehran's commanders were pushed into total tactical paralysis. They had only 5 seconds to decide. Should they commit their remaining systems against what appeared to be 50 incoming American aircraft, exposing the exact locations of their hidden underground bunkers to an immediate precision response? Or should they stand down and accept a crushing strategic defeat? It was a duel where the United States had already gained the decisive position, while Iran was still trying to understand which target was real. The IRGC believed it had cornered a giant. Then it realized the giant had been standing behind it the entire time. The standoff reached its breaking point, and the hunters of the East were one heartbeat away from discovering that in the Strait of Hormuz, the most dangerous threats are often the ones that never appear on a map. At 9:45 in the morning, as Iranian commanders finally understood they were looking at a digital mirage, the deadlock ended in absolute strategic silence. Facing the risk of losing their entire underground missile network to a precision counter-response, Tehran chose preservation over escalation. They shut down their fire control radars and ordered a full withdrawal. The Shahed Bagheri, the $1.5 billion paper tiger, was escorted back toward Bandar Abbas under the constant high-definition watch of American drones. The United States did not send the Shahed Bagheri to the bottom because in the world of high-stakes intelligence, a floating target can be more valuable than wreckage beneath the waves. That ship had become a billion-dollar liability. Every time the IRGC starts its engines or activates its sensors, the Pentagon will be watching its intentions before the command is even spoken. The United States did not simply win a standoff. It turned an entire fleet into a source of intelligence. America does not seek a fight, but when the line is crossed, it knows how to end the game. In the deep blue waters of the Strait, there is only one rule: do not touch the boat. What do you think of this acoustic harvest victory? Was the captain of the Delbert D. Black right to show restraint, or should the United States have delivered a stronger response to the IRGC? Let us know in the comments by typing yes. Your support helps us continue bringing you these high-stakes strategic briefings. Do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Navy Vector so you never miss a mission. The sensors are active, the board is set. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next deck.